South Africa just appointed the person who essentially decides which major corruption cases go to court and which ones stall indefinitely. It's one of the most powerful jobs in the justice system, and the way that Ramaphosa selected him has raised some serious eyebrows. So in case you missed it, the president tapped Andy Mothibe to take over as the National Director of Public Prosecutions, or NDPP. And while the name might not ring bells, the power of the role absolutely should. So the NDPP sits at the very top of the National Prosecuting Authority. This is the person who decides which major criminal cases move forward. We're talking corruption, state capture, organized crime, and which ones stall or just die quietly. I mean, if South Africans are frustrated by these high-profile cases not going anywhere, this is usually the office where that pressure concentrates. Now grab your popcorn, because this is where things get interesting. You see, Mothibe's appointment raised eyebrows because he wasn't even one of the candidates interviewed in the public selection process. Ramaphosa said that the advisory panel found none of the shortlisted candidates suitable, leaving him to use his constitutional powers to appoint someone directly. Now, legally sound apparently, but politically awkward, especially in a system trying to rebuild trust. Supporters point to Mothibe's decade running the special investigating units and his background as both a prosecutor and magistrate. Critics, though, argue that the process was both rushed and opaque at a time when the National Prosecuting Authority is meant to be fiercely independent. In the end, though, this isn't necessarily about the appointment process. It's about outcomes. You see, South Africans are tired of watching major corruption cases drag on, stall, and disappear altogether. And so if this appointment means that those cases finally take place, it'll earn trust fast. If not, though, it's just going to be seen as another reshuffle at the top. So that's the justice system pressure. But accountability doesn't just show up in the courtrooms. Sometimes it's a company pulling its own products off the shelves. Nestle is recalling a batch of its baby formula in South Africa this week, joining a much wider international recall spanning dozens of countries. And while product recalls are never good news, this one involves infant nutrition, which raises the stakes significantly. Investigations have flagged potential traces of cerulide, a toxin produced by certain bacteria, in an oil supplied to Nestle. While the toxin can cause vomiting and stomach cramps, the company says that no illness has been confirmed anywhere so far. In South Africa, though, the recall applies to a single batch of NAN Special Pro HA manufactured in June last year, and regulators have confirmed thus far that no other local products have been affected. So yes, this is a precautionary recall, not a reaction to confirmed illness. Parents are being told to stop using the affected batch and return it for a refund. Even so, though, the fact that a toxin made it into the ingredient pipeline at all is the part that sticks, which means that Nestle's PR team probably isn't clocking off early anytime soon. And while recalls and reshuffles dominated the headlines, our local markets quietly did something worth celebrating. The Johannesburg Stock Exchange hit its highest level ever, with the total value of its listed companies climbing above 8 trillion rand this week. In dollar terms, that briefly made South Africa's stock market larger than several other markets, including Malaysia, which isn't something you hear every day. So first, a quick reset. The JSE isn't the economy. It's a marketplace where shares of listed companies like FNB or Anglo American are traded. And so when the JSE index rises, it doesn't mean that our economy is suddenly booming. It means that some listed companies are being valued more highly by investors right now. And there are three main forces behind that at the moment: a much stronger rand, soaring metal prices, and global investors rotating back into emerging markets like South Africa. That said, though, the timing matters. You see, these records were set on Tuesday, but just yesterday, markets wobbled after oil prices fell following comments from the US administration on Venezuelan shipments. And as a result of this, the JSE slipped modestly. Still, though, it's a neat moment for leadership. JSE CEO Leila Fourie retires at the end of March, stepping down with the exchange at all-time highs. Hey, not a bad way to hand over the keys. And before we cruise on to our bagel bite of the day, here's a couple other headlines worth knowing. For starters, severe winds at the port of Cape Town have caused some of the worst export delays in years, with over 400 operating hours lost in November alone. Now, fruit exporters are rerouting shipments to Eastern Cape ports, absorbing costs that they actually can't afford. The Education Department has confirmed that matric results will be published on the 13th of January using exam numbers only, a system introduced in 2022 after privacy concerns under the POPI Act. And ICASA is finalizing new rules that would allow unused mobile data to roll over instead of expiring. This move follows years of consumer complaints and pressure on networks accused of violating the Consumer Protection Act. Now, we're likely going to be covering this more in our next video, so be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss it. And on to our Bagel Bite of the day. Let's see what you got. The question is, what does the abbreviation PIN stand for in banking? Is it A, personal identification number, B, private identification note, or C, personal information number? Now, I know this one is pretty straightforward, or is it? I guess you're gonna have to wait until the end of the show to find out. If I asked you what the hottest and coldest temperatures ever recorded in South Africa were, you'd probably guess something sensible. In fact, take a moment to set your bets. So it's worth noting that we're not dealing with a one climate system. We're dealing with several stacked on top of each other. Low-lying desert in the Northern Cape, high-altitude interior plateaus, mountain ranges that trap cold air overnight, a humid east coast pulling in warm ocean air, and a dry west coast cooled by the Atlantic. And so all of that means that our temperatures behave very differently depending on where you are. And when those systems line up, things get wild. So here's where things land. The highest temperature ever recorded in South Africa was 50 degrees, measured inland in the Eastern Cape in 1918. A historical reading that still stands, though it does predate modern instruments. Now, the highest temperature recorded with modern verification is 48.8 degrees, measured in the Northern Cape in 1993. And interestingly enough, that area has produced most of the country's extreme heat records since. Now, on the cold side, the lowest officially recognized temperature is minus 18.6 degrees, recorded in the Eastern Cape during the 1996 deep freeze. Now, even lower readings have been observed since, but they sit outside the official network. And as for that Bagel Bite, the answer is personal identification number. You know, the 4 to 6 digits standing between you and financial ruin. So choose wisely. And my friends, that's it for today's show. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is your weekly reminder that if you do prefer your news on the go, whether you're running or driving or hitting the gym as part of your New Year's resolution, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Links to both those are either in our description below or our bio. And on that note, I hope you guys have a great day further. Be kind to one another. We'll catch you on Sunday evening for the next round of the good stuff. Have a great weekend. God bless.